When you come to this earth as a light worker, you don't come in blindly. You have soul contracts with other people. Every single one of your client is a soul contract to some level. So there are people out there who could be at their lowest and they are waiting for someone like you to show up and guide them through this phase of their life. But if you really have that higher calling and if you have a spiritual mission, you can actually make impact on this earth. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're here. This is not the first call in here in the Cosmic Awakening School, but the first one after we have grown a lot. So I'm happy to welcome you all in, and I'm glad you're here. This call is meant to be around the New Earth vision and the values that we as light workers, as star seeds, as conscious souls want to bring into the world. I cannot talk about the New Earth without talking about the present Earth. So I want to bring that up for us to start with. When we look at the world right now, most people look at the state of the world, and one of two things happen when you talk about a new earth, a shift in consciousness, or a betterment of sorts. They either dismiss the new earth as wishful thinking or as like a utopia that cannot be real, like nice idea, but it's not realistic, that type of energy. Or they see the chaos in the world and feel it must be punishment or a test or proof that something evil is running the show or even winning whatever is happening. And I feel like both are missing what's actually happening, and we have to zoom out. It's hard to zoom out sometimes because we see people suffer, we see the evil in the world, and we see everything that is happening and all the conflicts that are happening, the politicians that are just making weird decisions, all the fights. Like there's so much turmoil happening that it's hard to zoom out from that. But I invite you to do that and maybe gain a bigger perspective on what is happening. From my perspective and from what I've learned over so many years of really working with all types of beings and with all types of energies, I've come to realize that there is no evil force that made this world broken, not like an external force that made some bad things happen. There is no such thing as a punishment or a mistake in what is happening. The world as it is right now is the exact result of polarity and free will playing out in full. And it doesn't mean that we have to approve of it or that everything's great or that this excuses everything. But when you zoom out into a multidimensional perspective and into a very spiritual perspective, you have to look at source or God or the divine, whatever you want to call it, consciousness itself, that wanted to know itself. And it couldn't do that in the state of oneness alone. You cannot know light without darkness. You cannot know love without the absence of it. And you cannot know yourself without having another perspective to see yourself through. So basically, everything that we learn and everything that we perceive as us versus someone else or as this versus that, it all has to happen in a form of contrast. So when Source or God decided to know itself, it had to fracture itself into billions of souls, billions of perspectives, billions of experiences. And we see them playing out here on this physical earth, but there's many other levels to it and many other dimensions where the same thing happened. And all of it contrasts, all of it is data for consciousness to know what it is and what it chooses to be and what it does not choose to be. And in that fracturing, some fragments traveled so far from the whole, so deep into separation that they forgot. They forgot they were source. They forgot the light they came from. And the being that is fully disconnected from its own divine spark, that is where that what we call darkness comes from. So there are some beings among us and also humans who are so far disconnected from the divine that they don't even see themselves as that anymore. And they basically evolved over many incarnations into the polarity of the divine. So that is how darkness came to be, or how we can explain that from a bigger perspective, not as an outside power that has any power and is evil. It is a distortion of the original light manifestation. And with that, it sounds like I'm excusing the darkness, but that's not what it is. it is a way to take away the power from what we call evil. Because if there were an opposition, an actual opposition to the light, we give our power away to that. And that is what a lot of religions want to make us believe, or a lot of people who talk about this in a very contrasty way. They want us to believe that there is a higher power, that there is some sort of elite or some sort of darkness running the planet that has power over us. But even though the darkness is present, it doesn't have sovereign power. It is a misled consciousness, a fractal of source that basically lost its way home and lost its divine connection. And that is why we can have some level of compassion for what we call evil. We can understand where it comes from, similar to how you can understand how a certain person maybe ends up as someone who does horrible crimes. And when you look at their childhood, it kind of makes sense. It doesn't excuse anything, but it makes sense. You have compassion for that, and you can see the gray areas and not just the black and white. But it also means, when we are aware of this darkness existing, it also means that we don't hand this darkness the wheel, and why positions of power need to be questioned in our own way. There's many ways to do that, but I feel like the way we resonate in this group, or how many of you will resonate, is to look at that from a spiritual perspective, as I just described, that the darkness is not the enemy, it is the furthest point of forgetting. All suffering is rooted in the disconnection to the divine. That's how it really boils down if you look at it from a spiritual perspective. When you are connected to source, and when you are aware of co-creating this reality, and that you do harm to yourself if you do harm to others, and you see the interconnectedness of everything, it's way harder to do harm to someone else. The darkness is not the enemy. It's like our lost part of consciousness that we are trying to bring back into the light. But here's what's shifting, and that's when we start to talk about the new earth. I was talking about the polarity of things and how we also need that polarity to understand ourselves. I brought that up when we talked about source knowing itself. And the same goes for the fractals of source, which are we. We are aspects of source. So even we need polarity to know ourselves. But what is shifting is that some souls are done with this classroom. Like, we don't need that level of polarity anymore. We as souls, we have learned what polarity has to teach. And we are not here to keep cycling through the same lessons. We are here to build something new and to graduate from this level of polarity. And that is when the New Earth timeline comes in. It's not a sudden shift that the whole world shifts into a New Earth perspective or into a completely different world. It's that we as beings decide that we are ready for a new timeline. We are ready for something new. That's the awakening, not a sudden rescue from above, not a collapse into doom. It's millions of souls simultaneously saying, I remember who I am and I choose differently now. I've learned what I don't want. It's a natural evolution of consciousness rather than just a fantasy or like a nice fairy tale you tell someone. If you really understand the new earth, it becomes less of a spiritual jargon and it becomes a real timeline and a real thing you want to be part of or you want to help create. It's a frequency that's already being built by people exactly like you, like the ones on this call, and by people just choosing differently and using their co-creative potential to help shift into a world that is more conscious. And not everybody has the same role. There's people who are contributing to this shift in very different ways. They don't even know it's a spiritual shift. They may be in a higher vibration and they are not spiritual, but they also contribute to that. They contribute maybe by like very physical things like building new places or bringing some physical change. But as light workers with a spiritual mission, we are most likely, like everyone is called to something different, but we are most likely here to help shift in consciousness and identity for others to follow us and to do the same for themselves. When we talk about the new earth, people often think that it's just something that will happen, or it's an event, or like a very drastic change, like we're going to be, I don't know, harvested and placed onto another planet. There's like crazy theories out there. And what I would like to communicate in this call is that it is an emergence through people like you. It's emerging through people who think differently, who speak differently, who show up differently. And it basically means that it cannot emerge without the people who embody it. It's happening internally and it's emerging through those who embody it and through those who actually bring the change and are the thought leaders. And we are the pioneers. It's nothing that is new. It's been boiling for so many years. Like people have been talking about this for a long time for some sort of shift. But right now, we are pioneering that in the age of Aquarius, and actually the interconnectedness of the earth and how the internet and plays into it has a big part in it. And that's why so many light workers came here at this time. A lot of you probably feel like you are observing what is happening right now, maybe in the world or in the people. But I feel like there's more to it. If you're aware of all of this, you're not really neutral to it. You cannot just say, I'm observing it and I see it. I would bet that at least some of you in here right now have been on this awakening path for many years, and you have looked into things and learned things about the world that are just now starting to come into the mainstream. I bet many of you have been diving into some, let's call them conspiracy theories for a lack of better word, and you have peeled the layers of the illusion for quite a while now. So you're very aware of something that is very new to a lot of people, or to the majority of people, if they even want to concern themselves with it. Your awareness is not really random. It's part of your soul mission that you are aware of these things and that you have been for a while, and that you're now at this point where you're like, okay, something's actually shifting. I see it in the world, and in the chaos is actually proof of it. It takes a lot of knowledge and understanding to realize that whatever we see here, how chaotic it may be and how horrible it may be, it just proves the point that your intuition and what you've learned about the world was right all along. I actually had a conversation about this with a couple of people a while ago where we were talking about how the state of the world is something you could like be really sad and upset about, and we are, all of us are. But at the same time, as light workers, we have this gift and this power that even the chaos in the world and even all the darkness coming to the surface, it doesn't make us go into like this doomsday mode. We see that all of this is coming to light, and it kind of strengthens us in our wisdom, in our knowledge, because it's proof of all the things that we have felt for so long that they are real. So it's actually a superpower to be able to see the chaos and not fall down a spiral of negativity. Everyone has these days, but overall, it's kind of like almost a feeling of, and now we're going to change that. I'm going to put so much more energy into what I want to create, and I'm taking all I got so I can actually help co-create another timeline and co-create another reality. It's almost like a confirmation of what we know is happening. And that is quite powerful, I believe. You can see what you see because you're meant to do something with that. We all feel called to do something and to really show up. And there's still this gap of like what's holding you back, what's the thing that doesn't allow you to fully dive in. There is many ways to show up. It doesn't mean that if you don't have a business you're not showing up as a light worker, but I tend to work with a lot of souls who have this desire and who have this calling and who know that's their path. So I was wondering how the ratio is in here. And I see a lot of you are already doing that, and that's super powerful. But yet, some of you or most of you have said you could do more. You're not fully embodying, you're not fully acting on it. So there's this gap. I want to talk on that more, the gap and the not fully showing up, because we could talk about many things that could hold us back. But I feel like from what I hear a lot in my clients is that the biggest thing that they tell themselves is that I just need more clarity before I really start. I need to know what my purpose is, or I need to know exactly what I'm meant to do. And I see that over and over again. And I feel like it's not a lack of clarity, it is the fear of being seen. Because the moment you really show up and you show up powerfully and with all of your energy, things become very real, and there are things out there that you can't take back anymore. People might see you, they judge you maybe, or they resonate with you, and you actually have to show up for them then. So there can be many levels of fear of being perceived or being visible. I see that so much in many of my clients, that the shift doesn't need to happen around clarity, because that's important, but not as important as the identity. So if there's anything I want you to take from this call today, is that the fact alone that you're here, that we're sitting in this room and we're talking about shit like this, and we fully understand what is going on, is the proof you need that you are meant to show up, that you are meant to do what your soul is calling you to do. A lot of you are overthinking things, and the fear of not being understood or being outcast in some type of way for what you believe in and for maybe what your worldview is or your positioning. And that is very common for light workers. And none of these are strategy problems. They are identity problems. There is this resistance of showing up, especially online. But if we look at the reality we're in, and that's where I come to the point that I teased earlier about the internet and the interconnectedness of things. When we look at the reality right now, we are in the age of Aquarius, and that is the age where not only consciousness is rising, but also technology. And technology actually is, in the modern days, how information spread and how ideas spread and how consciousness moves. And if you have something to say and you're not saying it, that doesn't keep you safe, because nobody is hurting you for saying what you want to say. It just keeps you invisible. And it actually keeps you, first of all, from a life you want to live and from a reality you want to wake up to every day. And it keeps people who need your wisdom, your guidance, from finding you. When you come to this earth as a light worker, you don't come in blindly. You have soul contracts with other people. They don't have to be fulfilled. These are all just potentials, but every single one of your client is a soul contract to some level. So there are people out there who could be at their lowest, and they are waiting for someone like you to show up and guide them through this phase of their life, and you are not showing up. So these contracts never come to be. They never will be fulfilled. This is not to put you under pressure or to make you feel like you are not helping people. Like, everyone has their own free will, and this is not set in stone. But I want you to be aware of that this is not just wishful thinking or like a human desire that you have, but if you really have that higher calling and if you have a spiritual mission, there is so much connected to that. Like, you can actually make impact on this earth, and it's all a potential that many souls have agreed on to actually help heal this planet and help bring the new earth and bring higher consciousness to this planet. It's not just a you thing that you have chosen. I want to have this mission because I would love to do that as a human. That would be fun. It's actually a group mission. Like, we are all part of the same assignment, and we have different perspectives and different ways to do that. And it's not just you. There's also the souls that you can potentially help when you activate yourself as that healer, as that light worker, as that mentor, coach, whatever you want to step into. It's very clear that every single one of you has like a very clear mission here. Even if you don't know your topic yet, even if you don't know how exactly that looks in a tangible business or in a tangible presence online or whatever you desire to do, we all have in common that there is this higher calling. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right? There is a version of you already, and I want you to just imagine with me for a moment. There is a version of you who speaks clearly, who speaks what she actually wants to say or what they actually want to say, who shares their perspective, and who attracts the right people, and who is already leading their space. And that version is not later in life or once you've figured out something or once you've, whatever, grown a following. It's available now. But it requires one thing, you deciding to step into it before you feel ready, before you know what exactly you're going to do, before you know exactly how your voice is online and how you want to express yourself, before you know how to make money with that or how to live from that, because that's a very real thing too. It's also a wounding that a lot of light workers have. They have this higher calling and they feel it to be very true and coming from the heart and from like a level beyond being human. And then they are afraid of asking for financial exchange. That's also a very big issue. And I want to give you one thing to think about. If you came here in this 3D reality, you also agreed to this rule that money and the energy exchange of money is how we exchange goods and services, and it's just how it is here. And you agreed to that. If you're afraid to ask to be compensated for your services here, you can actually no longer serve people. You cannot live from not having money and have all the time you need to actually help people. So what you're asking for is a financial exchange so that you can put in the time to actually create content, to actually create offers, to actually sit in one-on-ones with people all day and help them guide through their processes and go through their emotions. You couldn't do that if you were not compensated for it. It's a mindset shift. About a year ago, I decided that I want to fully lock in and be omnipresent because I felt that I was still holding back. I was not showing up enough. People could not find me. But when they found me, they really, really resonated with my work. And I had such amazing feedback. So I was like, I need to show up more. Like more people need the opportunity to actually find me. Because when I work with them, I can actually help them, but they're not finding me because I'm not showing up. So I committed to posting daily on Instagram. That was my commitment for 6 months. I committed to that. And I actually tripled my audience. And even though that's a social media number, it immediately translated into the impact and into my positioning in the spiritual community and how many people were finding me. And that's probably how you found the community that we're in right now. It really is powerful to commit to something and then stay consistent with it. And it's actually how you can have control over how things are turning out. We cannot be in that mindset of, I hope it's going to happen and I hope I will be successful in that, blah, 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 without actually taking action. Manifestation is one thing. Manifestation is you bringing yourself into the frequency of having already what you desire. But that's one part. And the second part is then acting like that person. And that's what a lot of people don't do. They manifest and they feel it and they visualize and they love it and they feel the feelings. But then they go back to their old self once the meditation or the visualization is over. And what you have to do is you have to visualize, you have to manifest, you have to feel it, and then think, okay, I'm that person now. Like energetically, I stepped into that timeline. What does that person do? How does she act? How does he act? That's where it gets interesting. I really hope you gain something from today. Before I let you go, I want to tell you about something I've been building, and I'm creating something for the exact person who showed up on this call today. It's for those of you who are done waiting and really want to step into your roles as a new earth leader, as a guide, as a light worker, and actually build the business around it or make it more tangible, make it more you. And it's going to combine the inner work and the outer strategy. So it's going to be a lot of identity work, but also your message, your presence, your offer, how to all set it up to build an online business that is successful and in alignment with you. It's not open yet, but I felt like I want you to be the first ones to know about this because I know it's going to go fast. I hope you feel really empowered to step into your mission more, whether that means working with me or just making a commitment to yourself. It doesn't matter. All I want is that you move forward, claim your role, and that we all contribute to something amazing. And we're already doing that, but I hope you can show up even more powerfully now. Sending you all so much love.